Hey everyone. Sometimes I really like doing these videos in a little less formal outside the studio setting. And today I'm taking Patty on her afternoon adventure. And I was just thinking, we have this series going on this channel about Venezuela, what it means for everyone. Well, I was doing my research for that and some other videos I put up that I filmed in the studio. And one of the clips I came across was Stephen Miller basically making the claim that, people aren't taking Trump seriously when he says he's going to do what he's going to do. And I just want to take a moment out here on the walk and just say, okay, if that's true, which is somewhat laughable because this is the same group of folks that laughs the absurd things away until they actually happen and then says no one was actually paying attention. It's such a rhetorical gimmick that it's really hard to believe that these senior leaders are operating in good faith at all with the American people. And I want to make a clear distinction before going any further. In this video and on this channel, I criticize the Trump administration quite a lot, using primary sources, using actual information, and I do that for a very intentional reason. I really do not believe that the senior leaders of this administration operate in good faith. And I think that's something that we need to do moving forward if we want to have any chance at building a better version of our country than what we've had so far. And so I have a lot of empathy for average everyday people that may not understand what's going on, that may have voted for him, whatnot, but I have growing disdain for the senior leaders who really should know better and still don't operate in good faith. So with that, let's take Stephen Miller at his word. Let's assume for a moment that he's operating in good faith. All right. His critique of people in the media, his critique of leaders in Venezuela and other countries, and his critique of people that lean liberal or Democrats or whatever, anyone that's not in the MAGA camp at the highest echelons of power, is that we don't take Trump seriously enough. So if we wanted to take Trump seriously just in 2026 and moving forward, based on things that he has actually said multiple times, not the one-off comments, but things that he has said repeatedly, what do we have to be looking for? And I'm not predicting any of this is going to come true, but here's what we have to be on the lookout for him taking actions in the near future. First of all, the national security strategy this White House put out has the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. It's Monroe Doctrine 2.0, I think it's called in there. I'll put a link to that national security strategy in the description below. Please go read it for yourself. It basically says in that we're going to enlist and expand. Build new partnerships and expand our influence. When you read that document before what happened in Venezuela happened, you could interpret that to say, the way we're going to expand our influence in our own hemisphere is through diplomatic efforts, or with this administration, through economic efforts. And that would be totally fair and viable, except that we moved naval assets, we moved special forces assets, we moved the assets that needed to kidnap Maduro into this hemisphere. We're using drones, we're using mostly military might. And so how do we need to interpret that section of the national security strategy moving forward? Well, other things Trump has said. He said, if this is really about cartels, then Mexico is probably the number one target. He said we're going to take Canada to be the 51st state. He said we're going to find a way to occupy our own Greenland. He said we're going to find a way to involve ourselves in Panama. He said Cuba could be on the chopping block. He said several other countries, Brazil is on the list of countries we could potentially operate in. And again, I don't say this to scare anyone. I don't say this to try to predict what this administration is going to do. I try to say this to say, if we take them at their word and we watch what they've actually done so far, then the thing that we all have to be on the lookout for moving forward is more military action. And I think that's where, especially the folks I've talked to on every side of the political spectrum, don't want more of, especially if there isn't a what happens next plan. And so I think that's what we all need to be on the lookout for. Let's take Trump seriously. Let's tell our elected representatives to take Trump seriously. Let's take Stephen Miller's advice seriously. That's the only way we're going to make a difference. And if you want to know, all right, if I want to take him seriously, what do I do next? Well, that's the very next video in this series coming up. How to influence our politicians, particularly when it comes to things like Venezuela and anything else that you actually care about. So this channel is all about teaching people the skills, the tactics, the techniques that you need to really be a part of the change. And so I'm going to do a deep dive, probably back in the studio, but we'll see, maybe back out on another walk, to really talk about if you agree with the premise that we should take Trump seriously. And then if you look at all the stuff he said multiple times about our hemisphere and that concerns you, let's figure out what to do about it. Because no single one of us is all that powerful. But when we all act at the same time, we have a whole lot more power than we think we do. And that's what the next video is going to be about. So tune in for that. Subscribe to this channel. If you have questions, if you have specific concerns, please throw a comment below. Find a way to reach out. I'll certainly be happy to try to respond to as many of them as I can. Thank you. If you haven't yet, please click like on this video, drop a comment below, and click that subscribe button. It'll help the YouTube algorithm make sure that these videos are getting into your feed. Thank you.